Did you know Catherine Howard might have been as young as 15 when she married Henry VIII?
Catherine Howard fascinates me simply because, to me, none of it makes any sense. None of it. I think that the story that we know about Catherine Howard now is Henry VIII's truth. It's the Tudor court's truth. I don't think it's her truth. And I don't think we've ever really heard her voice, which ultimately was Henry VIII's intention. But I think there's more to this than meets the eye. A couple of things that strike me as odd. The first being Jane Boleyn. So Jane Boleyn, she inserts herself in an extremely dangerous game of cat and mouse. Even though she knew what it had done to her husband, even though she knew what it had done to her sister-in-law Anne Boleyn and those associated with her. And she gets involved in this nevertheless. They knew the danger. They knew that by taking part in this escapade, they were essentially signing their own death warrants. All of them. And yet they went along with it anyway? That sounds absurd to me. Not to mention, you would think that somebody in Catherine Howard's position would have had a myriad of servants and attendants waiting on her. And yet it was just left to Jane Boleyn to sort of, oversee this apparent affair. I just find all of this so suspect. Like, if this was a court of law now, if this was in a court of law now, I think, this would be a long, drawn-out trial. Because it just makes no sense. Coupled with the fact that she was only young, as you mentioned. She was practically... Well, she was groomed, wasn't she? She was groomed by Henry VIII at a time when grooming wasn't really acknowledged. And she was also probably extremely frightened. She was a young girl, and then this overweight, old, impotent, smelly, diseased, riddled man has an interest in her, and then suddenly she has to feign that she is, his rose without a thorn. She must have been absolutely mortified. Perhaps all of this was, they thought they could ride the storm and then he would die and they could just live their lives and, it would be to all of their advantage. I don't know. But what I do know is that this story makes absolutely no sense to me. And I don't believe the traditional historical narrative.